Welcome to today's Muskogee Municipal Authority meeting. Roll call.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Present.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston. Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Cale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Item number 1 on regular agenda.
Consider approval of MMA minutes for April 11th, 2016, and special call session April 25th, 2016.
We will now consider the minutes. Is there a recommendation or discussion, or is there a motion followed?
Move for approval.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for the month ending April 2016.
Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the authority. This is a housekeeping matter relating to the transfer of funds from the MMA. This month we have $996,443.69, of which $740,643.69 is being requested to transfer to the city account from MMA, retaining $255,800 for debt service. Happy to answer any questions.
Is there comments or questions?
Move for approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there other thoughts or comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider and take action with respect to a resolution authorizing the Muskogee Municipal Authority to issue its Utility System Revenue Note Series 2016 in the aggregate principal amount of $22,095,000, waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the note to be sold on a negotiated basis, approving and authorizing execution of a supplemental note indenture authorizing the issuance and securing the payment of the note, providing that the organizational document creating the authority is subject to the provisions of the indenture, ratifying and confirming a lease agreement and operation and maintenance contract as amended pertaining to the water and sanitary sewer systems, ratifying and confirming a parity agreement, authorizing and directing the execution of the note and other documents relating to the transaction, including professional services agreements and containing other provisions related thereto.
Thank you, Pam. Mike Miller.
Yes, Mayor and members of the authority, I'd like to just take you back to our discussion last month. We received a letter in March from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board saying that they were going to refinance their obligations that they had outstanding, including our $22 million loan that we had for our water treatment plant. They gave us 3 options at that time. 2 options were to various refinancing options with the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, and one was to go and see if we wanted to refinance it ourselves. Last month we came to you and you guys approved us to go out and look and see what option 3 would look like. And option 3 has a lot higher savings projections than the other 2 options. So today we have gotten that answer for you. We have with us today Rick Smith, our financial advisor, and Nate Ellis, our bond counsel, and they can walk you through exactly what the proposal is that has come
Nate's
back to
case,
us.
he'll be hobbling us through.
Yeah, he won't be running fast. That's correct. So I'll turn it over to them, and they can present what they found.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and trustees. Of course, I'm Rick Smith with Municipal Finance Services in Edmond, and Alan Brooks, who was with me last time, had a conflict tonight, and so he sent Nate. We've been negotiating pretty hard with the banks, as you can tell from Nate's foot, okay? So back on April 25th, we presented to you what we thought was a viable option with respect to going out and seeking bank bids for the purchase of a new note that would refinance the Water Resources Board note, as Mike has indicated. The Water Resources Board proposal that they were providing cities, if you recall, was that they were going to pass on 30% of the savings that the Water Board achieved under their refunding and allocate that among the various communities and keep 70% for themselves. That was consistent with how the Water Resources Board has handled those types of refundings in the past. Our analysis, and when we came to you, indicated that based upon market rates and conditions, it seemed like that we could actually go to the market, get bids from various financial institutions, and then achieve savings obviously much greater than that. And so what we did after we met with you on the 25th, we put together bid packets that were submitted to 14 banks, all the local banks here in the community, and there's a list of the banks that received the material in the handout that Mike just gave you. We had a number of conversations with local banks and other banks, and we thought that really because of the size of this transaction, it was probably going to go to what we kind of call the big 3 or 4, Bank of America, Bank of Oklahoma, Chase, J.P. Morgan Chase, or BB&T. And so we had a number of conversations with representatives from those banks. I would like to mention that Tammy in your utility office helped us put together some information that some of the banks have requested, and she was very responsive, and I appreciated that. And I certainly wanted to mention that to you. And so we provided information to the various financial institutions. Yesterday, Friday, all right, we found out there was really one bank that was going to be presenting or submitting a valid bid, all right, to purchase the note. That was BB&T. Some of you may not be familiar with BB&T. They don't have any retail offices here in Oklahoma, but they're pretty big in Texas. They're actually out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And they've come into the Oklahoma market over the last 3 years or so and have been very aggressive on these types of transactions and other transactions. The rate that was offered by BB&T is a fixed rate for the duration of the term of the note of 2.59%. We had talked, if you recall, when I was here back on April 25th, we thought the rate probably would be in the 240 range. All right. We did get a bid last week in Guthrie for a 242. This transaction actually was slightly longer than Guthrie's, and so the 259 pretty much equated with that 242 bid on Guthrie. Guthrie was for $17 million, and this is for 22. Of course, the purpose of this transaction is to reduce your debt service savings. You know, we had indicated before that based upon the rates in the market that we had estimated, you were going to save about $95,000 a year in real debt service reduction. And I know Jean Kingston was kind of jumping up and down. Well, she's still jumping up and down, even though it's about $70,000 a year. But it's $3.2 million over the next 16 years. Because if you remember, we're actually shortening the term of this transaction by 1 year. Okay, so the overall savings are a little over $3.2 million. And it's about $70,000 a year in debt service reduction. One of the things that we did at the request of staff today is we went back and we looked at the cost associated with the transaction. We were able to scale back our costs, bond counsel costs, and other participants to the tune of about $36,000 in reduced costs that will actually come back to the authority in the form of a check at closing, all right, to help out on the debt service. The information was provided earlier today to the staff. I know some of you got that information. I know, Mr. Hall, you had requested a chance to see it before we came to the meeting, so I know that the staff sent that around. It is certainly our recommendation that we take this. I mean, the Water Resources Board, if you looked at the information that they provided, Mike and the staff a couple of weeks ago, they were in the neighborhood of about $29,000 a year of savings, and now we're at around $70,000. So obviously, you know, we thought we could beat the Water Board deal, and it came out when we actually got the one bid from BB&T. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to answer any questions. Mr. Ellis is here, of course, to the resolution, to discuss the resolution before you. He drafted that, and I guess my 5 minutes is up, right? And then
I'm going to ring the bell on you, though.
There'll be a companion agenda item under the City Council, all right, based upon your actions now. But I would like to open it up to any questions that the council might have, or Mr. Tucker,
Now, Rick, I guess I got two. You said $70,000 annually
Yes.
times 16 is.
Well, yes, but the big savings is in the last year.
Okay.
All right, it's like because we're wiping out 1 year of your debt service, which is about 2.2 million in that last year, Mr. Gully. Okay.
I'm just trying to get
Right,
the numbers.
I understand.
Then there's a paragraph in here that says, we understand that the district expects to borrow more than 10 million in calendar year 2016.
Well, the 22 million is in excess of 10 million.
More than, okay, it says more than 10 million. Okay,
Yeah,
so they
yeah.
weren't real specific at that point in time.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Because I was going to say, well, wait a second.
Yeah,
We're
that's
still a little short.
That's right. Well, that had to do with how the banks treated the interest. This is a non-bank qualified transaction. It's non-bank qualified in the sense that you are issuing over $10 million in tax-exempt obligations this calendar year. This note obviously exceeds that. That factors into the interest rate that the bank would actually bid. Okay?
That $10 million.
Yes, sir.
Are there other comments?
I've got a question. So the all-in rate is 3.09%.
3.09. Where is it at? There's no admin fee. Are you talking about the 0.5% that's added to it? No. That's what the Water Resources Board does, Mr. Kale. That's your rate, if you remember on your existing note, is actually 3.46, the interest rate. Then the Water Board adds in 0.5%, and it's 3.96. There is no admin fee. I mean, the rate is 2.59% on this transaction.
Okay. Did you discuss or look into the rate on a 10-year term?
I did, sir. I did. We initially looked at it after after we met with the council, and we had a discussion about the 10-year term. We went back and looked at what we thought a 10-year rate would be at that time, and I provided information to Mr. Tucker and Mr. Miller and others. Because we were shortening up the term, and we kind of suspected this when we were talking about it, because we're shortening up that term from 15 to 10 years and squeezing all that debt in 10 years, it was going to raise your annual payments about $630,000 to $640,000 a year.
Okay.
And in our opinion, and in Treasurers and others, you know, that level of increase, all right, did not seem to be, from a cash flow standpoint, a wise decision. We did get a quote, just informal quote from BB&T earlier today on what they thought a 10-year rate would be. And they said around a 2.30%, 2.3%. Okay.
Okay. And I don't disagree with being able to make our payments or not.
Yeah. Right.
Other comments or questions?
I got one last little comment, and it's just because I'm trying to educate myself,
Absolutely.
if you don't mind. Weighted average life in bond years.
Yes. Okay. That's basically the amount of time that the principal is outstanding and then is actually being retired. All right. It's a mathematical calculation on the amount of principal as it's outstanding, because as you know, on any loan, you are paying down principal as you pay on your debt payment. Okay. The weighted average life is one of the things that the banks look at in terms of how they price these types of transactions. In other words, a transaction with a 9-year weighted average life is going to require a higher interest rate than a 7-year average life, because there's more risk involved from a time standpoint. So the weighted average life is a calculation that we do to help the banks determine, you know, how long the principal is going to be outstanding, and then how rapid the principal is being paid down. The term of this note is about 15 years, but because you're paying down principal every 6 months, all right, it's going to actually shorten the time frame that all the principal is outstanding. And so when you calculate that mathematically, it came out to be a little over 9 years.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question. I've had that before, actually.
Is there other comments? Questions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, the motion carries, and that concludes our agenda for the Muskogee Municipal Authority. We'll now go to our Muskogee City Council agenda. If you would join us for the invocation and flag salute. Bow your heads with me if you would. Father, thank you for this day and for the great weather that we've had up to this point through the season. Father, we ask your guidance over our city, over our county, and over our state. Today has presented some challenges in terms of weather. We pray for protection of the people of the state of Oklahoma, and especially the people in the Muskogee County and the city of Muskogee. Father, be with us tonight as we go about the business of the city, that we would conduct ourselves in a way that would bring honor and glory to your name. And we pray for your blessing on our city. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me with a flag salute. Attention, salute, pledge. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
We are accounted for. If you all would join me down front, we are going to recognize some interns from the ICTC program. And Cassandra, I didn't see you until just a minute ago. Would you come and join us in congratulating these interns? Kimberly Loomis, if you would join us as well. Danielle Swanson. Alice Arnett. And Timothy Gray. They have served over the last few months in an internship program that Cassandra helped coordinate for us with ICTC, Indian Capital Technology Center, and I want to see if she has a comment or two about their program.
First of all, I want to thank the city of Muskogee for helping ICTC come in with the internship. This gives the young people an opportunity to come into the office and learn the value of being responsible in an office. And you all did an outstanding job in which you represented the city, the manager's office, purchasing, our economic, and IT. And we really, really appreciate you all being a part. And Ms. Pouncil wanted to say a little bit as well from ICTC.
I just wanted to say on behalf of Indian Capital Technology Center, thank you so much for giving these students an opportunity to have a real-life, real-world learning experience that will further their careers, as all of them will be getting ready to graduate, I believe, here in the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much, and we look forward to having this partnership in the future.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We just want to say thank you, and if you would start behind you there will be Councilman Wayne Johnson, and we're going to shake your hands as you go around, and then we're going to hand you a certificate. part of the picture and let someone take yours picture?
You have no idea what we're doing with our hands. The faces we can make. Itself in there.
We will now consider the minutes from our April 25th, 2016, and the special call meeting from May the 3rd of 2016. Are there additions or corrections to the minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Consent agenda, items 1 through 7. Is there anything anyone would like to move to regular agenda? If not, we'll entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Regular agenda, item number 8.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of an ordinance to close the 20-foot alley running north and south and the 20-foot alley running east and west, both located within Block 63 of the Muskogee Original Town Site, more particularly described in the ordinance, providing for severability and setting an effective date, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin,
Mayor, members of the council, this item was tabled at the last city council meeting.
I'm sorry. We're going to consider ourselves in a public hearing.
This item was tabled at the last council meeting in order to give the applicant time to visit with the Public Works Department to see if the drainage issue could be resolved without closing the alley. The applicant did meet with Public Works. Public Works has identified 2 possible solutions to the problem. However, they need additional time to get some more information, such as shooting the grades or the elevation of the property, to see if those items are feasible. So we would ask that you go ahead and table this item one more time to the June 13th city council meeting.
Okay?
Was the applicant okay with that?
Yes, we've talked to the applicant and the adjacent property owner.
Great.
Applicant has signed up to speak to this item. Are you okay with us doing that without your comment?
Withdraw my request.
Okay, thank you. Matt, what do we need in terms of a motion to move it ahead to?
Motion to table it to
June 13th.
Okay, motion to table to the 13th is needed.
Close the hearing.
So
We need to close the public hearing.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Roy.
Oh, I wish I could take credit, but it was your deputy mayor.
Just trying to help.
Good job, James.
Hey, that might be it for the week.
Okay. Okay, do we need, did we have a motion?
So moved.
We've got a motion. We
Second.
have a second. We have a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9.
Consider and take action with respect to a resolution of the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma, approving the incurrence of indebtedness by the Muskogee Municipal Authority, issuing its utility system revenue notes, Series 2016, providing that the organizational document creating the authority is subject to the provisions of the indenture, authorizing the issuance of said note, waiving competitive bidding with respect to the sale of said note, and approving the proceedings of the authority pertaining to the sale of said note, ratifying and confirming the lease agreement as amended pertaining to the city's water and sanitary sewer systems and containing other provisions related thereto.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, this is the same agenda item we just addressed in the municipal authority. The municipal authority needs the approval of the city council to actually go and incur the debt. That's why this agenda item is here. There's really not any anything further for us to address, except for the council to consider what the authorities already approved.
I guess, Mike, I had one question I forgot. Does the city manager and yourself, do you think this is a good, are y'all recommending the approval?
Yes, we do.
I assume so, but
Yes, sir.
I forgot to ask to.
Anything that allows us to save money on the back end, cut the loan term, and have additional cash in our hand, we are very much in favor.
I was just checking your sanity.
So, yes, thank you, thank you.
Are you sure?
Just
Should
checking.
we ask Mrs. Kingston as well? That would be a yes.
You mean Scrooge?
Good job, guys.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston. Yes. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 10.
Consider approval of final payment to Roscoe Construction Incorporated in the amount of $78,434.27 for the construction services for Elliott Dayton Street Drainage Improvement Project, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, this is an item that I'm pleased to see wrapping up. Although, to make sure that council is aware, there is a one-year maintenance bond on it. So even though we're wrapping it up and giving final payment tonight or recommending that, we still have a one-year maintenance bond to go back and accomplish anything that we may need to in the future. This is a drainage project, and of course, when you have the volume of water running through it that this does, there could be erosion and some issues that may come up that we may have to address. As we told you at the Public Works and Finance meeting, we did have some unresolved issues that were very minor. Those have been taken care of. Although we have identified a couple of more, we're still going to recommend approval of this item. Mr. Ross has stated to us that he will take care of those issues, and I have no doubt that he will. And as you know how a maintenance bond works, that if we decide that he's not fulfilling his obligations, we can call the bond, and that usually gets their attention, although I don't think there'll be any need in taking it to that point. This is approval for a $78,434.27 payment to them for final payment. This is releasing the 5% retainage, which is what we do on all projects. I put together a real quick slideshow. This is setting on the end of Elliott Street, looking to the east. This goes on to the east to Country Club. That is looking back the other direction from the same place. That's looking down Elliott Street. A very good concrete job. See no flaws in it. Was difficult getting it to that point. We had a lot of issues with the neighborhood and mud, and of course that's where two projects came together, and we had some unhappy residents while it went on, but I think we worked through it and we got it accomplished. That is at the end of Elliott Street, looking back to the west, and that is just showing you the trickle, or the it's not a trickle channel, but the channel that actually goes back to the detention basin. And that is looking on the end of Belmont Street, or no, that's actually again looking from Elliott Street back to show you how the head wall went into place, and that the culvert pipe that actually, or box culvert that actually goes under Elliott Street. More of the same. That is looking down into that detention basin. Over toward the left in the middle, you can see the outlet pipe that goes in there, and of course it's got a trickle channel that runs down the center of the basin itself to help keep the drainage flowing. And by the way, this is one of the things we did put on the drainage mowing contracts. So this is under contract to keep it mowed, and this was to be mowed, probably was it bi-weekly? And again, another picture of the basin itself. And if you remember, that's looking back at a couple of properties that actually flooded. The one on the right side of the new privacy fence, has had water in it multiple times. And we have not had any issues since this project has been underway. And we've went through some pretty good rains. That's looking in front of that property where we added some new storm grates. That is looking back to the west from Anthony Street, where we did put a little trickle channel, a concrete paved trickle channel down through there. That's an area where we couldn't get our crews up into to mow. and it was really a jungle up through there, overgrown with trees. We couldn't maintain it. When it had to be cleaned, we actually had to do it manually with wheelbarrows and wheelbarrowed out of there. So we're very pleased to see this. It'll help keep it clean. All the sod is starting to grow. And by the way, that was one of the yards that still needed to be addressed right behind that utility pole. That is one of the channel drains that goes all the way across the street to help improve the flow. And that's the one that's right there at Dayton and Anthony Street looking back to the north. And if you can't really see it, but if you go back up Anthony a little ways past that stop sign, there's another one that goes all the way across the street. And that was to collect the water flow to keep it from flowing down to those two houses that flooded and take the drainage out Dayton Street. That's looking back towards Belmont. Very good project, very pleased with it. Mr. Ross is, again, like I stated, very willing to do whatever needs to be done for anything that arises in the future. It has
While you've got this picture on, was this the same picture as one of the last pictures you showed, or is this not?
Back up
That's the first.
from the beginning.
I don't think it was.
He's talking about the last one.
It had that one. That's not the same picture, is it?
Yeah, that is still in the basin itself. There's two outlets in the basement.
Okay, so, but this isn't that first one we saw with the two yellow pipes.
No, it's on up from there.
Okay.
Again, a very good project. When we had multiple days of rain, and I literally would get knots in my stomach because I'd know that these people over there were going to get flooded. There would be issues. I've gotten calls from multiple council people over there that with the property owners that had issue. That's all been resolved. This is all, in my opinion, due to the fact that we passed that impervious surface fee, and that's allowed us to start moving forward with some of these projects. Unfortunately, they take a long time to accomplish. We tend to upset people when we're in their yards, but ultimately we do get it done. We do hold retainage back to ensure upon that. Prague and I went out and knocked on doors and made sure everybody was happy. And if there's somebody out there that's not, we're just unaware of it, and we'll resolve that if we have to. So we recommend approval.
Mr. Stewart, on a couple of these detention areas, didn't we have a walking path around them?
We had proposed one at this area, and the neighborhood over there, when we had the neighborhood meeting, did not want that because this is really in their backyards and not as publicly accessible. Okay. There would have to be something that was developed to get them back here, and that's the reason they didn't want it. Now, since we have built it, and since they have seen what we did over at Chandler Road, we have had inquiries as to why this one doesn't have one, and it could very well, very easily be put on top of it.
Okay. All right. Are there comments or questions?
I got one observation. I had mentioned this a while back. By the way, your department did a great job on this. The first picture that we saw, for instance, with the two yellow poles, it appeared to me that, unless I'm off, but it appeared to me that we could have widened the apron going out a little farther out, and I'd made mention once that where we've got this force controlled piping of water going and the pressure and all, but I'd like us to keep in the back of our minds on some of these curves and some of the areas where the water's just coming out massive. If we just spend a little bit more money on concrete there, it'll avoid. And I know you'd love to concrete it all if we had the money. I know that.
Top to top.
Yeah.
Are you talking about in the bottom of the channel?
Yes.
Well, you can see kind of how the water's standing in there, and I can actually understand what he's saying.
But it's not because they're standing water.
No, but it's about where that is standing because it's going to erode there.
A lot of the reason that is standing is because it has eroded. And if we would have just taken this, made it wider up front, I guarantee it's a foot deeper than that. It's undercutting the little bitty concrete sled we have there now. But if just in some of these spots we were to widen it, and then on curves and such, we'd save a lot of money on sod, we'd save a lot of money on man hours, and it's just a little bit extra work on concrete. But it saves money, I think.
And I think the way to proceed with that in the future for me is to bid that as an ad item to see where it comes in, because if you'll remember, we did expend just about every dime on this project. We tried to address every issue we came across. We had some change orders on it to include some drainage off to the side of it that we didn't catch. And I do want to say one more thing. Clay McAlpine designed this and worked with us on this, and I think he deserves a lot of the credit too, because I know when he was city engineer here, this was one of the problems him and I worked on together, and we've both been chasing this problem for almost 30 plus years. So to see it finally get to a point where we don't have water in people's houses is, you can't believe what joy that gives me.
He got to see and help lead all that through eventually.
Yeah, he was saying that some of these problems just never go away.
Mike, do you think that we might have spent $80,000 to $100,000+ on redos, bringing sod back in, bringing sod back in, fixing?
Yes, and we actually had that conversation. Remember, we brought that to you when we did that last. We ratified some purchases on this, and what we had to do, because when we had got the sod down, it came a tremendous amount of rain, and it took some of it off. And that's when we had to get with legal, if you remember that conversation, and decide what was really the contractor's responsibility and what was ours.
What was
and
act
we did
of
share
God.
and we did share some of those costs.
And as we should have, it was an act of God. But some of what I'm trying to avoid is, well, yeah, I'd like to pay those monies up front instead of just for nothing.
No, what you're saying is that would justify probably some additional width in the concrete. Yeah, got it.
Good job.
So Mike,
Thank you.
my question is, I'm sure we solved a lot of mosquito issues by doing all this, but will we periodically, if we have standing water for very long, do we have the capabilities of spraying that from?
No, this is one of the areas that Jason does spray.
Okay, and I was just.
And also see the standing water there, which that, by the way, is not standing. It actually moves in there all the time.
Okay.
Which I know the mayor's seen it go through as many storage over and over. But if it's standing, we do have briquettes that we can drop in there
Okay.
to try to help with the larvae.
Because I'm sure we solved quite a bit in the first place.
Right, and back when we had the West Nile virus, what we were doing then, we identified all the drainage basins as the big areas to keep sprayed, and this was one of them.
Okay. Cool. Move for approval.
And a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there other comments or discussion?
Yes, ma'am, everybody be recognized.
You can, sir.
Mike, I was looking at this right here. You said this water, it goes down the drain and it runs. It's like if we went out there after a rain, all this water is gone, right? It's not just going to be standing there.
No, there's some water always traveling through there.
It's always traveling.
Yeah, there's
not that high,
underground-
is it?
There's underground springs and different sources that feed it. It's never big, and in the summer, in June, July, it might actually be dry, but I've never seen it completely dry over there.
What I have a problem is with this rock you put up there, that falls in there and that deters that water, that stops it. I don't care for that myself. The rocks y'all put on the side, I'm like Mr. Councilman Kale, if that had been concrete, if you go back to that other picture, it's got the nice concrete basin. That one there. Well, that one right there. That's what I'm talking about.
That was the same as the next one, and that's actually more of an inlet than an outlet. This one was where the water's going in, and that's why we did a solid structure there. And on the outside, that's what we call for riprap. And if you can see, Councilman Van, over on the right, it's starting to erode right there, and some riprap might be appropriate to be placed there. Sometimes if that riprap won't stay in place, then we go in there and we put flowable fill concrete on top of it, which helps make it more solid. So we'll keep an eye on that, understand your concerns.
The best case scenario, there is a big need for riprap because you'll just, a lot of times you can't slow down the water or the grass or the stuff underflows and cuts. But that riprap is okay, useful, but it is nice if you can put concrete over the top of it just to, But I don't think that there's a place for slides, all the time. And when you're trying to slow down the flow of water,
It's absolutely
it's
necessary.
absolutely necessary because the concrete will just speed it up.
My concern is this water, standing, after a period of time. Even though you got this nice, pretty drain, it does drain good. That's what was my concern.
It drains well.
And just like I say, on those rocks, I've seen that stuff you put the concrete over to keep the rocks from falling in there. You know, that does work, but it doesn't look as neat, but it works.
No, it doesn't.
It looks kind of sloppy because we got some down there in Robertson Park like that. You know, I
This is the neat way to do it, and this
Like
is
that
more.
way.
This picture represents more what Councilman Kale is trying to say with the
Right.
concrete going farther up the side slopes.
That's what I'm saying.
And we'd prefer to do it that way. But you also get into some other issues with the wildlife department, and I mean it's not as easy to do.
If you go back on this one picture where it's with the fence within the residential area, can you go back to that picture? Keep
That one?
going. The one where it was a fence, you know, and it was sloped. It's like in the alley.
Oh, yeah.
There, right there, that one. Now, see if you had concrete up there also on that side. See, that's going to erode, even though it's got sod over a period of time.
Oh, I would have loved to concreted that all the way to the top.
You know, but I'm just saying.
No.
Mayor, I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, sir. We've got a motion and a second. Ready for roll call? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 11.
Receive report from Downtown Muskogee Incorporated as to the financial condition, project status, and progress towards achieving the public service objectives of encouraging, developing, and promoting activities and implementing programs that enhance the economic well-being of the Muskogee community by enhancing and revitalizing the downtown area, as well as consider approval to renew the cooperative agreement for fiscal year 2017, subject to budget adoption, or take other necessary actions.
Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This item is for our annual report from Downtown Muskogee, Inc., and we have Leanne Langston here, who's the executive director, who's here to present. But this item also asks for approval for a renewal of a contract to continue the services of DMI. The city yearly appropriation to pay for this contract is $30,000, and we're asking for renewal to that, subject, of course, to budget adoption. And with that introduction, I'll turn it over to Ms. Langston for her report.
Thank you. Do I have to say my name and address?
Well, you can. Please do.
Okay, Leanne Langston, 1628 North Country Club Road. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. I promise it will be less than 7 minutes. You can hold me to that, unless you ask questions, but then that's back on you. Okay. Oops. Here are the names of our board of directors, and at this time we have one starred because we'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our newest member of our board, Lynn Wallace, whose business is downtown. I'm not going to read every slide, but I am going to read this one because our mission statement's very important. Our mission is to recreate a sense of community through economic development, design, events, activities, and festivals that bring our citizens and tourists to downtown Muskogee. Part of our mission is economic development. This past year, we received a $50,000 grant from the City of Muskogee Foundation. $26,500 of that investment has been allocated, producing $217,302 invested in downtown. The club lunches renovation of the McKibben building has revitalized a 3rd Street legend. The Brooks building, part of Hoops Hardware, has been renovated extensively and is now home to Pinyon Creek Trading Company. Downtown Muskogee works collaboratively with numerous other entities. We've worked closely with the Depot District, especially on the design of their future destination green area that will be filled with other amenities. And coming very soon will be the new Muskogee Little Theater. We've also helped the Katy District develop their signature logo, and we've participated in their Sip and Shop evenings on the first Thursdays of each month. We're proud to be past and future sponsors of Muskogee's Halloween Bonanza, along with Early Rush Coffee House, the Nonprofit Resource Center, and many others. We expect well over 3,000 participants this year. Downtown Muskogee has worked closely with the City of Muskogee to get new LED lights and Christmas decor on Broadway from Main to 3rd Street. with more coming in 2016. We are also currently working on a plan for safer sidewalks throughout downtown. We collaborated with the Chamber for a successful Magic Holiday giveaway. We've worked with the Nonprofit Resource Center to bring back Muskogee Christmas ornament sales. And this year we will be selling some previous year's ornaments along with this new year's and limited collector's sets. So look forward to that. In spite of the weather, the 2015 It's a Wonderful Life Christmas Parade was a huge success with more entries than ever. This was a collaboration also with the City of Muskogee, PCLZ, and others. Our future plans include having bell ringing ceremonies for new and/or renovated downtown businesses. Buildings that have been renovated through the City of Muskogee and Downtown Muskogee grant funding will soon be highlighted with sidewalk signs. We're also currently developing 2017 calendars highlighting hometown heroes, City of Muskogee workers who protect and serve us daily, along with calendars that feature downtown Muskogee businesses and Muskogee's history. We are still working on developing downtown loft apartments and vibrant downtown retail and eating establishments with nighttime entertainment. Downtown is the heart of cities everywhere. In 2013, our citizens were asked what types of development they wanted. Downtown attractions open in evenings was number one. When asked where development should take place, downtown Muskogee was number one. The preferred location for culture, arts, and education, 88.5% wanted them downtown, with 46.6% specifying the Depot District. Where did they want new retail? The majority wanted it downtown. One of the most important questions was where they wanted public resource development. And once again, an overwhelming majority, 71.3%, said downtown. It's time. Our citizens have spoken, and we must move our downtown forward. We were asked to research what other Main Street organizations in Oklahoma receive from their city governments, and here are the results. I'll give you time to glance through the list. We've listed only there the ones that invest more than $30,000 annually. As you can see, the populations vary quite a bit. The items listed on this slide, which I'll not read to you, and on the next one are things that DMI, Downtown Muskogee, has been doing, can and will continue to do to help downtown development. Recently, I found an article about my dad's design for a Muskogee Tourist Center on Shawnee and 69 Highway from the Tulsa World, dated November the 17th, 1963. The exact words that I'm going to put up here in just a minute surprised me, as they probably will you. Its mere existence should be a warning to all of us. And here they are. This was in 1963. The initial idea for a tourist center came from the now extinct Action in Muskogee, AIM Committee, more than 2 years ago, 1961. The time to invest in downtown development is now. Downtown Muskogee would love to have your help. Here are some ideas. Support your local businesses, volunteer, become a committee member, share ideas, sponsor an activity, a brochure, share all the great things that we do have going on downtown, recruit friends to help, and financial support, of course, is always welcome and is tax deductible. We want to thank you for your past and future support. Thank you very much.
Lee, I have a question. Can you back up to the slide that talks about the other cities? Yes. And maybe 6 slides back?
No.
Right there. Do you have an idea what these, that you're saying, Follow Main Street to invest more than $30,000? Do you have any idea what they invest?
Enid invests $75,000 a year. The city invests $75,000 a year. And I apologize I did not bring that with me. These are just ones that get 30,000 and above. Now, Muskogee, Oklahoma City and Tulsa both get like $120,000 a year, something like that. Of course, Tulsa has a couple. They have the Kendall Whittier district, and then they have another one I can't recall right now. And then Stockyard City is just an area that is a Main Street designation for Oklahoma City. But we're looking at Perry, Oklahoma, with a population of 5,126, and they get over $30,000 annually. I have the exact amounts, how they're broken down, what their budgets are that I have side by side with Muskogee's, and I'll be glad to share that with you.
I would like to see, in fact, I would like everybody on the city council to see those numbers.
I can get that to you. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In fact, there are about 30 on the list that I was provided, so it'll show the ones that are above and the ones that are below also.
Okay.
The ones that are at or below our population be real interesting. Tulsa and Oklahoma City, we know, but
it's kind of interesting because I was in Perry this past summer, and man, do they have a nice looking, vibrant downtown.
Yeah.
And
looks like they're supportive
really
of it.
Impressed.
Well, and we often compare ourselves to Enid and Ponca City, some of those others that are pretty close to our population. So,
and Ms. Langston, if the information is available when you provide that to us in terms of what each of those cities get, I'd be interested to see, what does the city ask them to do with the money? To see how they invest it, so we can have some comparison for ourselves going forward as we try to help the downtown area here.
All Main Street programs are a 4-point program. They provide organization, they provide design, economic restructuring, and promotions. So those are the things that all Main Street programs are required to cover.
I was just curious to see if the cities had any additional things that they wanted those downtown areas to work on in particular. Particularly interested, especially in Perry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I know they did extensive work on their sidewalks. They actually used a grant that was available where easements were granted to the city. So that they could go all the way up to the buildings to renovate the sidewalks, and then the easement and all that returned to normal after.
I think I see where Marlon's going. Our DMI has some documentation that says if you want to redo the inside of your building, we can assist in this way. If you want to do signage or front-facing stuff, we can assist in this way. And I'm assuming that it probably offers other things as well. Just on these communities here that we have here, when we get the numbers that they invest, could you make a phone call and get a couple of faxes of their documentation on what Perry pays for a frontage? Or I think he's wanting to see, maybe they have ideas that of promoting downtown that maybe we don't, or maybe we have ideas that they don't.
Sure, and Roger Bell, our vice chair of our committee, and I will both be going to National Main Street Conference the 22nd through the 26th, I believe, in Milwaukee, and we'll get tons of ideas from there. I do know I used Kendall Whittier. I coordinated with them when we were writing our grants for the Muskogee Foundation, and I did use some of their verbiage and some of their pricing and things.
But in specific, you can get this information from these communities.
Most of the time, yes. Yeah.
That'd be great. I'm assuming any of their citizens can.
Oh, absolutely. And if anyone has any specific things like that, I'll definitely ask about that. Any of the others that have incentives, we'll check into that. If you have any other specific questions, I'll be glad to ask them.
Just what their edicts are. Here's what we're set up to do and what we do, and then here's our current programs. And we're Ardmore and we give $50,000.
Can you also check on their administrative costs? Because I know that some of these communities pay their DMI director and stuff. Can you check on that too? See if there's another fund that they're paying, maybe there's administrative costs in there also.
Those administrative costs would be in the figures that I'll be giving you.
Okay.
If they are, there's no other funding source other than fundraisers and things like that. There are some communities that have more fundraisers than others, so we have to look into all of those.
I noticed that a lot of these populations on here are a lot smaller than ours.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's $30,000 for Perry, Oklahoma, and we're almost 40,000, that doesn't say, and we're almost 7 times bigger than them, says that we're probably not putting enough in our DMI.
You know, an interesting thought that we discussed the other day is the amount of money we put in for economic development through the port contract and the amount that we do through the tourism contract and through the Chamber of Commerce contract, and this pales in comparison. Maybe we need to step up and begin to put more money into downtown.
I will get all of you the information you requested by the end of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good presentation.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Other comments?
May I be recognized?
You may, sir.
Ms. Langston, I think you do a wonderful job, because you're definitely passionate about downtown, and also Councilman Johnson also. The whole committee is passionate about downtown. I think it's a wonderful thing. And one thing I really enjoyed about downtown was when we had that bonanza. That was something to see right there. That was really, I've never seen that many people in downtown. And that was a great thing. So I commend y'all for your work you do. Thank you. I'll yield the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Item 11, do we need a motion on it or just to accept the report? Yes, but it has the budget amount or it has the fiscal.
Well, it's also
Budget
for
amount.
renewal for a contract
Right.
for next year as well.
So we need a motion in that regard, and I don't think we have that, do we?
No, we do not.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Need a motion and a second, and we have that. Is there additional comments or discussion?
Are we, if she brings us that information back, or is there a possibility that we may try to increase this a little bit this year, or is this something that we were looking for next year? That's reason before the motion to accept the contract. Should we hold off a little bit before we accept the contract the agreement?
We can, in my opinion, and this is nothing more than an opinion, so tell me if I'm wrong, that we could approve it now, which would move it forward to the budget process, and the budget process could increase that number, would be my thought.
That's
I'm good with
exactly
that.
right.
Ultimately, it'll come back, the budget will come back for your approval, so if any modifications to the number can be corrected then.
That would be unless they objected. I'm assuming not? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Langston and Mr. Johnson. We have 3 people as, whoops,
We got to do
roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. We have 3 people who have signed up to speak to non-agenda items. They are Ivory Van.
Mr. Mayor, before I go down, I have something special tonight I'd like to bring to the City Council and also to our citizens here in Muskogee. But I need some help on presenting this, and I would ask the committee if they would allow Mr. Dennis Wilhite to give me a hand on us also, because he's been a very inspirational part of this, what I'm fitting to present to you.
Okay.
If we have to vote on it, we can vote on it. I'll make a motion.
We don't need a motion on that. You can use
okay.
his assistance.
Okay.
What you have before you is the Congressional Gold Medal that was given to Lieutenant Faith McGinnis out at Booker T, Washington. When we did all the cemetery work, we uncovered Lieutenant McGinnis' headstone next to his mother, and then we found Second Lieutenant Robert Smith, who started the cemetery. He was also Tuskegee Airman, and so when I brought this to the attention of the Oklahoma chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, then they got the Congressional Gold Medal on behalf of Lieutenant McGinnis. And if you, the back side is just as gorgeous as the front side. And when we went to Oklahoma City to receive the medal, I had the honor, and so did Ivory, of meeting Charles B. Hall. Charles Hall and Second Lieutenant Hall and Lieutenant McGinnis were in one of the original flights of the Tuskegee Airmen. Lieutenant McGinnis was the first to die in the program, but Lieutenant Hall was the first Tuskegee Airman to bring down a Nazi fighter during the war. And so that was pretty cool to meet his relatives. But this medal, I accepted it on behalf of Lieutenant McGinnis. And the purpose of the medal is now that it's going to go, I've been invited to a couple of area high schools to give a presentation on what the Tuskegee Airmen were. And then it's going to go out to the War Memorial Park for a month. Then it's going to go to the Three Rivers Museum for a couple of months. And then it'll be out at the Martin Luther King Center, and it'll be hopefully a permanent display there. But if you understand, and I've got a total different view of life in general, Lieutenant McGinnis went as a 22-year-old African-American male in 1941, and he gave his life for a country where he had to ride in the back of a bus. If he went to a restaurant, he had to go to the back door. He couldn't vote. He couldn't even register to vote. And yet he gave his life for a country just for the hope that his children would be able to vote, eat in a restaurant, drive in a public place. And so from this point on, this man means a whole lot to me. And so this medal is going to be displayed. But, you know, there's a lot of things going on in Muskogee. We just got to uncover them sometimes. And the Oklahoma Historical Society is going to put up a monument on 69 designating that that's a place to be revered, and I think it needs to be. Anyway, I appreciate you very much. Thank you, Ivory.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilhite, do you want to step back to the microphone?
I don't know if you want me to or not.
Well, we can turn it off if we need to. Give us your name and your address in this case.
Dennis Wilhite, 2803 Haskell Boulevard. And this is totally different from the previous one. I'm upset. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. When the work started for the sewer and the creek bed behind my house on Haskell, when they dumped sewer water on my yard, when they put their when the construction company, and I'm not going to mention them by name, when their employees put their wet uniforms on my air conditioning unit to dry them out, when they parked their mini backhoe 10 feet from my back bedroom window, when my wife had to close the shutters to make sure she could get dressed in the morning, when they put pipes on my property, when they parked equipment on my property, when they tore up my sprinkler system, which was not in the easement, when they tore down my fence, when they tore up my sod that I just laid $2,000, $3,000 to have redone, I always believed that the city would take care of it. I told my wife, I said, city will take care of it. I believe the city's going to take care of it. I know a lot of people. I know Mike. They're going to take care of it. I don't believe that no more. I don't. I don't believe the city's going to take care of it. I've been lied to. I've been misled. I always thought that this project would come and the sod would be replaced and my yard would look back the same after they finished laying the sewer at Civitan Park. Now I realized we're going to have to start all over after they get finished with North Street. And I don't believe in the city no more. I don't. And that's a crying shame because I always believed that you would take care of me. I was promised you'd take care of me. I was promised that I would have written statements about when the timeline for work would be done. I was promised that I would have a written agreement that my sod and my sprinkler system would be good for a year. Still haven't heard nothing. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been going on since May of last year. Now I'm worried that I've got an open fence. I'm not going to put up a new fence until all the work is done on the creek bed. But then that opens me up for liability because under city regulations, if I've got a pool in my yard, I got to have a fence around it. And now I'm in violation of that. Because if some kid wants to do it, and I'm not putting up a fence until after all these things are taken care of. But like I said, I don't believe in the city no more. And in a couple of months, you want me to pass another bond issue? Until you take care of me and some others in that area, I don't know about the bond issue, guys.
Thank you, sir. Tom Hall.
I'm Tom Hall. I live on 525 North 16th Street here in Muskogee. And I've got a problem, and I came here tonight to ask for everyone's help. I've been talking with our councilmen, and they seem to be in with me on this. And I've asked a good friend of mine. We have a house next door to us that's been empty for 20 years. It's fallen in. It's got huge holes in the roof. This whole side of the house was knocked out. The floors are gone. Everything it's getting ready to get somebody hurt or killed. It's been tagged for demolition for 13 years. I've been working with Dan Hurd to get it knocked down, and he's at his wit end. He asked me to come up here and ask for your all's help, and I'm here to beg for your help. There's rats, snakes, everything coming out of this house. A big rat got after my wife the other day, and she won't go in the yard now. She's wanting to sell our house that I've wanted for years. And all we're asking is to get that place knocked down. I've heard other people here tonight talking about us make our city beautiful again. Well, that's what I'm asking. Help me make our neighborhood beautiful again. All of our neighbors are in on this. Everybody wants this house knocked down. Its address is 535 North 16th. It's the only one on our street, it and a little house across the street that runs our entire neighborhood. It's been empty so long, and it's boarded up. It's been boarded up for 17 years. All the druggies off the next street over comes and parks in that yard, and they break into that house about once a week, go in there, do their drugs or whatever they're going to do. Then they finally leave. We find everything out in the yard, whiskey bottles, beer bottles, syringes. Somebody's going to get hurt. And that house could fall down at any given time. The north side of that house, the whole wall was messed up. They tried to take it down. The studs they put in, they didn't have a way to cut them with a saw. They didn't have a generator, so they used a chainsaw. It's like this. When they put the studs in, they nailed it to the bottom, but the wood at the top is completely rotted out, so they didn't tie it into anything. A little wind's going to blow it down. But like I say, all the snakes and rats and everything, somebody's going to get hurt. And I'm asking for every one of your help tonight to help me make our neighborhood beautiful. And I appreciate your help.
Thank you, sir. That is the only three people we had signed up to speak, and that gets us to the end of our agenda. Is there anything anybody else has? Otherwise, we will adjourn our meeting.